Minister of Niger Delta, Pastor Useni Uguru, have assured federal government's commitment to attract more foreign investors into the agricultural sector, especially in the area of fish farming in the Niger Delta region. The minister gave the assurance when he received a delegation from the British Trade Mission led by the Director of Africa House, Emmanuel Bassi, in Abuja. The minister, while responding to their questions, said federal government has outlined fish farming as one of the critical sectors of farming that Nigerians are meant to be encouraged.
We do not think by the volume of demands of fish in this country, even if all these groups are engaged in the end, they will satisfy what Nigerians need. On this account, fish farming has started having the required attention in the Niger Delta region, but it is not enough, and we don't think in the medium term we'll be able to have enough. So we encourage investors in that regard to come forth with their programs. There is an underscore of everything we are talking about business in the Niger Delta region, and that is fundamentally the paucity of funding. And so we'll appreciate any investor coming to the Niger Delta region to define ways of generating or accessing funds for such investments, knowing that the Nigerian market is for now infinite in terms of demand for most of the items, commodities, or products that are required for the development of the region and the country in general.
He emphasized the need for a strong collaboration in the area of intelligence, capacity, and technological assistance to fight corruption and oil theft in the region.
We also know that today, globally, the wave of corruption is no longer localized, especially with the introduction of cybercrime. And this is the point at which the international community is very, very important as collaborating partners in fighting the corruption. And so this collective responsibility, being entrenched in our system by the collaboration you and we as a nation are seeking and entering into, will be of great essence and assistance to this country.
From Abuja, LM Chukwemeka reports.
The National Assembly has postponed the passage of 2016 budget earlier scheduled for February 25th, 2016. This was made known at a press conference jointly addressed by the chairman of Senate and House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation, Senator Danjuma Goje and Honorable Jubrin Abdulmumini in Abuja. Senator Goje said the National Assembly wants Nigerians to know the circumstances surrounding the budget process.
And because of the observed instances that are being reported that are well known to you, from the beginning of this case, when the budget was submitted, there are a lot of controversies to the current controversies surrounding the budget. We feel that we have to come here, interact with you, make some clarifications so the Nigerians will know the correct situation of things.
In his submission, Honorable Jubrin Abdulmumini explained that the budget proposals need a clean-up because of the controversy surrounding the budget.
That particular timetable indicates that we will pass the budget on 25th of February. But as you are all aware, a lot of issues have come up. Gladly so, even the executive arm of government, they've also come out to accept the fact that there's been a lot of errors in the budget. And during the budget defense, a lot of issues of padding of the budget that has to do with overhead. In some instances, cases of over-bloated personnel cost. But generally, there's been a lot of issues. And it actually means that the appropriation committee will have to sit down after the entire process of the budget defense to do a very thorough work, to do a very proper cleanup of the budget.
Also, Senator Guje stated that the National Assembly will take more time to pass the budget that will be implementable.
And that's why we don't want to produce a budget that will be thrown back to us, either because of difficulty in implementation or difficulty in trying to sort out some ambiguities. We want to remove all ambiguities. We want to remove all paddings. We want to produce a budget that is clean, that is in line with what the Constitution says.
Muyiwa Bamdele reporting from National Assembly.
The Transition Monitoring Group has asked Senate President Bukola Saraki to follow global best practices by stepping down immediately and face criminal charges on false assets declaration at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The group chairman, Ibrahim Zekirulahi, while briefing journalists on the current realities in the country, said that the Senate President should put sanctity of the legislature above every other consideration.
The leadership of the National Assembly is currently morally challenged. That integrity deficit has been accentuated by the recent Supreme Court judgment, which ordered the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, to go face criminal trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT. Whatever modicum of respect enjoyed by the Senate will be further obliterated by the time the number 3 citizen is mopping from the dock and answering to charges of false asset declaration. TMG expects Dr. Saraki to put the sanctity of the legislature above every other consideration by stepping down immediately. While we agree that his trial at the CCT does not automatically translate to guilt over the charges, we call on the Senate President to follow global best practices.
The group also took a swipe at the Supreme Court over its judgment on Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Abia State's governorship elections and described the judgment as a clear incentive for electoral brigandage, saying the apex court turned a blind eye to justice.
The recent Supreme Court verdicts on some state elections, specifically Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Abia, are a clear incentives for electoral brigandage. The disturbing trend in this judicial pronouncement is in the fact that the apex court has elected to give judgments and not justice. In the face of unrepentant attempts to subvert the will of the people in a good number of the cases, the court has curiously turned a blind eye to justice.
Osam Raffle, Ben Television.
Suites, number 1 AMO Road off Epotrol, GRA, Benin City, Edo State. Website www.prestigehotel.com.ng. Email info@prestigehotel.com.ng. Telephone number 070-620-84038, 081-519-74044. Prestige Hotel and Suites, world-class hospitality.
Contrary to opinions in some quarters that the current anti-corruption crusade is targeted at opposition parties, especially the People's Democratic Party (PDP), the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said that the 55 people he earlier mentioned to have embezzled 1.34 trillion naira cuts across different political parties. The minister, who was speaking when he received members of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption Crusade in his office in Abuja, said those insisting that the names of the people involved should be mentioned are getting the whole thing wrong, as that is not the motive behind the anti-corruption fight.
Not everyone has joined the campaign, but we see the increased national debate on corruption as a positive development, because the more people are aware of the evils of corruption, the cost of corruption to their livelihood, the more the likelihood for them to support the government's battle against corruption. Some have picked issues with the figures we have been quoting, wondering whether we have verified them before giving them out. Others have said the figures were aimed at whipping up emotions. Our response is that anyone who cares enough to seek such information will find out that the figures are neither new nor concocted. They have been in the public domain for quite a while. Those involved are being prosecuted in our courts, and the names of the specific courts and the prosecutors are available. We did not identify the accused by name because that was not the purpose of the information we gave out.
The head of the advisory committee, Professor Ishe Sagi, who took time to enumerate the benefit of the anti-corruption crusade to Nigeria, said it is actually the populace that suffers whenever people steal money meant for the development of the nation's infrastructure.
The consequences and devastation we have suffered as a result, for Nigerians to begin to consider that when there is massive corruption, it is not government that is suffering. It is the ordinary man who is the greatest victim. For them to associate themselves with the victimization which have arisen from these terrible acts of corruption which we have seen in the last few months. We expect the cooperation of the NTA, the FRCN, and the National Orientation Agency in, for example, having jingles, maybe before the most important news items, when everybody is tuning in, jingles that actually promote the anti-corruption struggle.
Sagi said the visit became very necessary as parastatals under the Ministry of Information and Culture will play a very vital role in the anti-corruption crusade. From Abuja, I am Festus Ejiroge Nefifen for Ben Television.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has said that $2.48 billion foreign exchange came into the country through it, while $2.50 billion went out, which resulted in a net outflow of $2 million. This is contained in its economic report of the Nigerian economy for the month of November 2015. According to the report, foreign exchange sales by the Apex Bank to the authorized dealers amounted to $2.20 billion and represented a 0.5% decrease below the level in October 2015, while the average exchange rate at the interbank segment remained same at 196.99 naira per US dollar as in the preceding month, but showed a depreciation of 15.13% relative to the level in the corresponding period of 2014. At the BDC segment, the report said the average exchange rate at 233.94 per US dollar depreciated by 4.1 and 33.0% relative to the levels in the preceding month and the corresponding period of 2014 respectively. Gross external reserve increased by 2.3% above the preceding month's level.